Good evening, Doctor.
Hello, good evening.
My name is Tom.
Thank you.
May I speak to you about that lady that called about her son, the 17-year-old that was hustled by the cops?
Yeah.
Does the general public really realize what goes on out there?
Are you a policeman?
Ex-policeman.
Okay.
Anyone who could believe that they would just purposely go ahead and 3 big cops pick on this little 17-year-old boy, it's out of the question.
Didn't I tell her that?
Yes. It's so... When I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, I've listened so many times, but I had a call tonight.
Uh-huh.
Because I've been in so many spots where we've been abused like crazy.
Oh, I know that.
And we're always the bad guys. You know, like I have been on Livonia and Sheffield during the riots in the 60s.
Yeah.
I was in front of Fortune House when it was firebombed.
Right.
And I have 56 stitches in my chest from the straight razor. We get the whole bottom line, you know. And everybody says, now, I am very pro-kid. I have 6 sons, 3 daughters, and 5 grandchildren. So I'm on the kid side.
Yeah.
But I have a son, for instance, in Alabama. And he's a junkie, put it that way. Do you have any idea what it's like to bail a kid out of jail over the phone? And, you know, the kids can break your heart.
You're right.
And every mother is convinced that their son, not my boy, you know, but that's not the case.
I know. Of course, you know, I've never yet heard a kid who, let's say, who was arrested by the police, say to his mother and father, you know, I was sassy to the police. I did wrong.
You're absolutely right.
Never. It's always the kid telling a story. I did nothing. The cops came along and banged me over the head.
Do you know something? I had a guy one night, and I was in the G building of Kings County Hospital.
Right.
And he was in handcuffs. And he was listed as a violent psycho. And my partner went to get something to eat.
Yeah.
And this guy was sitting there nice and quiet, no problems. And I was wondering, you know, what the hell did I get this guy for?
Mm.
And I gave him a cigarette, and and he finally asked me, you want to go to the men's room? And the handcuffs were tight, you know. And he was such a nice guy. I took him loose. I woke up in the intensive care unit.
Mm.
So when the people start feeling sorry for the guys out there, you know, first of all, you don't come across a cop unless you did something wrong.
Well, also, I will say this, the toughest job, and I agree with you, and that goes for being mayor, and that goes for being deputy, and that goes for any job you can think of.
Especially when you deal with the public. Right?
As a cop.
Well, you know what? You got to be part psychiatrist, part judo wrestler, and part the marriage counselor, and part whatever, you know?
Yeah, but you see, one of the things that gets me, you know, is the following, laying for you if you do something wrong. Right. There's a whole crew, let's say, ready to charge you with brutality, whether to bring you to trial. Well, and I think that's very, very unfair.
You know, too, if I walk up the street in that blue suit, you know who I am.
Yeah.
But there's 5,000 other people on the street. I don't know who they are.
You're right.
See, and it's very easy to beg me.
But may I ask you a question?
Of course.
Which disturbed me this Saturday. It disturbed me plenty. I was walking up Broadway, 7th Avenue, Broadway, and on every block, there's 2 or 3 of these characters, you know, over the three-car Monte game going on.
Right, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they're shoving the money in from suckers, you know.
Right.
They have their shills out there.
You know, I'll tell you why.
Nobody bothers them.
The instructions have come from above.
What? For what?
When I was on Livonia Avenue, when those riots were going on, there were people across the street throwing things at me. I was on Livonia and Sheffield.
Right.
And I called in, and the sergeant came down here. Well, you want to know what was wrong? And I said, these people are throwing things at me from across the street. If I get hit in the head with a bottle or a brick or something, I'm in trouble. He said to me, you didn't get hit yet, did you? And he told the driver, take off. You know what I did? I went in the firehouse right down around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Because what was
that's, right. Well, that's right. Can
I shoot? I'm just one guy, you know. And
that's right.
Well, can I shoot somebody? Oh, what do I do?
You're right. So
and,
you see,
and you know something? When you talk, I heard you talking about 42nd Street. I used to work 42nd Street back when Harry Brandt was alive, when the 7 Brandt theaters were there, when it was starting to go undecent.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was bad then. I was over there, not Saturday, but the Saturday before. I wanted to go see Armidian, Rise and Fall, whatever you call it.
Right.
And I was amazed to see that the cops, the young cops, were walking in the street, in the gutter.
Right.
And when I went from 7th Avenue to 8th Avenue, I would say 25 times there were guys offering to sell me a nickel bag, and the girls were there.
Well, that's what the next thing that happened is, I happened to be walking up the street, and I was decently dressed. You know, in a 2-block area, I was propositioned about 6 times.
Of course.
How can the cops let these, some of those kids, I mean kids, you know what? Love kids.
Is this going to, this is not going to go on the air, is it? Can I tell you this?
Yes, it's going to go on the air.
Oh, well, I've stood out there in the whole big thing with the 38 hanging out and the stick on the side and everything, and I've had girls come up to me and say, "Get me the movies free and I'll take care of you."
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
It's crazy. I know that.
I don't know where the hell the world is going to.
Where is it? And one of the problems is, I call it too much permissiveness. On the part of certain people, they're confusing license with permissiveness. And I got quite angry at the police on Saturday because I'll tell you what I saw going on. I saw, as I said, announced on the air, I saw 2 gals going to work on an older person. One spoke to him propositional, while the other picked his wallet and ran off with it.
Right.
This is New York. And all you had to do is give a couple of cops authority, and that whole thing gets cleaned up.
But you see, I was just going to tell you, if they'd only turn these young guys loose,
well,
they could snap it out in a minute.
That's right. As I said on Saturday, the problem is not the policeman; it's the command structure.
That's right, my friend. The instructions that they get: don't touch nobody.
Don't touch nobody.
That's it.
Well, I must say, my radio family, you're the one that's being touched, while they're not being touched.
See, what they don't realize is that by the way they're looking at it, they're victims. That's their own fault.
Well, in that case,
you got a bunch of good-looking young guys out there, and they're young, strong fellas, and they're trained and they're capable. And when you take them and you handcuff them, they can't do nothing for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's really a shame.
I tell you this, maybe we need a revolution or something, because we have a civilized country. I hope. Sometimes
semi-civilized.
Sometimes you wonder.
But you know what? They have the capability, and you know what? When they go in there, I'm sure they're earnest and they can do the job. But when you stifle them, when you don't, like I say, turn them loose.
Well, who has brought the police department to this situation? Now I ask you a question. Who? What? How?
Well, if I had to put in one word, I'd say politicians.
Okay, it's a question of politicians and the judges, too. The court system.
Oh, the judges. I don't even want to talk about the judges. You know what I do now?
Yeah.
I'm a desk officer in a
don't identify, no.
No, I won't tell you where. In a security department of a medical facility
right.
in New York. And I see the abused children coming in. And we have 24-hour guard on a child to protect him from his own parents. Now, where do you go from there?
Where do you go from there? We need some law that makes people responsible for their actions. That's where we go from there. And you see, in a way, I feel guilty because when I was a youngster, I was part of the group that helped bring this about. And I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
In what way?
Well, there were no bad people in this world. Remember, we had...
yeah, I remember when I was a kid.
Yeah.
My pop used to work nights, and in the summer night, my mom and I, we lived 2 blocks away from Prospect Park, and we'd go up and we'd take a blanket and spread it out on the grass, and
you're right.
She would knit, and I would read a comic book, and we'd fall asleep, and nobody would bother us.
And I was raised in Williamsburg, same thing. You'd spread a blanket out the front porch. Sure. You go to sleep on it, nobody would bother you.
Somebody was up on the roof sleeping, too.
You're right. Today, we've brought a world around. Officer, all I can say to you, I regret what's happened.
And you know what? Thank God I'm out now.
Yeah.
And I get out in one piece. I feel very, very sorry for the young guys that are in there now. The fact is, to tell you the truth, I don't know why the hell any of them would want to take the job now.
You are right. I don't know why anybody would want to be a policeman today. You are right. Any decent, honest person, why they'd want to be a policeman today.
You take a young, clean-cut guy that comes out, maybe puts a couple of years in college or whatever, and he's got a wife and a kid and takes that test, and, for the $20,000 a year or whatever it is, You could earn that in about 3 seconds in an alleyway.
You're right. And the reason why crime does pay. You are right.
That's true.
We brought around through our attorneys, our judges, our criminal system, crime does pay. And when crime pays, why should a youngster work? You're right. Why should a youngster work? Why should he do heavy work?
Yeah, but you see, the difference is today, in our day and their day, is I wouldn't dream of stealing something somewhere. If my television blew out, I wouldn't break somebody's window to take a new one.
Mm-hmm.
I'd wait until I had the price to get another one.
Well, because we've raised a generation with permissiveness that feels this way. If their television breaks down, they don't have it repaired. You're right. They'll break somebody's window and steal one.
Take another one. That's all.
And if they want to listen to music, they'll break somebody's window and take it and walk down the street with it.
And not feel the least bit of remorse.
Well, I want to ask another question. You walk down the streets of Manhattan. You see people peddling all kind of items on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
I am told a very large percentage of them represent stolen goods.
Not only stolen goods, but sold by illegal aliens.
And why is something not done about that?
When I get downtown Brooklyn and I see a lovely store like Abraham and Strauss paying fantastic taxes and this and that, and the guy outside, right outside the door, peddling, and he's not paying anybody anything.
Well, let's not go to Abraham and Strauss. Let's go to Fifth Avenue.
Right.
Fifth Avenue, where stores are paying $80, $90, $100 a square foot.
Right.
The fellow outside is doing as much business
he opens up a suitcase, and he's probably making more money than I was when I was on a job.
Well, the question I ask, how does all this happen? Very interesting.
Came about slowly.
Thank you.
Erosion is the word.
Can I send you 2 T-shirts?
Please.
Thank you.